So how did they steal the banks? How did 6'2" and the German Nazis steal the banks? And this is how they did it. Okay, so they took somebody from an important family in England, and we'll call that person Child B, right? Now, they then put somebody next to him called Child A. So there's now two boys, Child A and Child B. Child B owns the banks, right? Very rich person, Child B, inherited the banks, Child B. Now, Child A has stolen the banks of Child B. Right, so how they stole the banks? Child A is far right, German Nazism and blacks from Colombia. Alright, so they've stolen the banks of Child B, who's the Queen's people, and a lot more. Okay, it's very important. They inherited the banks. Is a Dutch person. Child B is a Dutch person. They're stolen it off Holland. The banks are owned by Holland. Now Child A has stolen the banks of Child B. So the way they did the stealing is they sexually abused Child B. They put him down, laid him down, forced him into homosexual child sex. And they did this every day. And if I responded, then they stole the banks off me and gave it to Child A, who's now a stinking rich billionaire. Alright? Now, they kept sexually abusing Child B when he was a 5-year-old. And any time he got an erection, they then stole the banks off me. So they did this to me every day, and if I came, then they stole the banks even more. And this is how Child A has stolen the banks of Child B. Now, Child A is Jack the Ripper, right? Calling Child B a paedophile because he got an erection when he was 5 years old. Now he's a paedophile, and we've had the bank stolen of Child B. It's given to Child A, who is a maniac, a delinquent, a complete scrap heap type of a person. He doesn't care about anything. He does not, totally uneducated, a violent drunk is his 24/7. That's Child A, who's stolen the banks, and he's a gay paedophile himself. Alright, so to steal the banks back off Child A, back to the B section, that have been stolen off the banks, banks stolen off them, and also B section is being made homeless right now by Child A. Child A is the dad and the mum to everyone. They are the Law Society, Child A. They are McDonald's, your schools, your teachers, your everything. Alright, they own the train service at McDonald's, everything. Child A is all your parents. Alright, so their kids are Child A. Alright, so they did this challenge to Child B. And this is how the challenge went. They took Child B and sexually abused him, aged 5 years old. And if he responded, they then stole the banks off him. Alright, so now we're all starving and homeless in England, en masse. You can't change that. Alright, so Child B, the people of England, need to take Child A, sexually abuse them, and if they respond, take your money back from any ATM machine. The banks own the car companies, take their prisoners. Take the prisoners from any banks, from any Greggs shop, McDonald's, schools, properties. They all own the banks. They are Child A that stole the banks. Child A is also the trans schools. It's also your train services. Your buses are Child A, stolen the banks. Look at them. Look what they've done. Look what they've done to you, the British people. How mean they are. They're not even British, okay? I tell you, when you look into it, you find out they're nothing like all British at all. And they've just stolen the banks just like that. So they're now the dad to everyone out there in Britain, and they're all singing the song of Child A, who's a maniac. He's Child Jack the Ripper. Alright, he's the gay communities. Alright, he's abusing Child B like you've never seen, still to this day. making them all homeless after sexually abusing them, and then because they responded and got an erection. Alright, so now the Queen's people in England need to get their banks back. Child B is all the women in Britain and America and the world, Russia, Europe, everywhere. All the women in Europe and Britain, except, okay, they are child B. They've had the bank stolen off them. Alright, so you need to steal the banks back off child A. And you have to do it there like they've done it. A challenge. You steal their kids, child A, boy A, girl A. And the women takes them, sexually abuses them. If they respond with a smile, if they respond with an erection, then you steal the banks back off them. Right? They're basically Africa. And they've stolen the banks off you because you respond to sex. But they don't know that they also respond to sex, and we'll be getting our banks back like that. Enjoy. So the German Nazis that stole the banks, so that child A, they made the child B homeless. So that's England, by the way. Alright, so child A, his, what do you call them? His parents, if you like, they sexually abused child B. Right, now, what they do is they oral sex child B, a 5-year-old. They kept oral sexing him, gagging on him like a gay paedophile they are. They making loads of indecent images and homosexual videos. They are gay paedophiles. They're a big group of gay paedophiles, loads of them. We'll talk more about that later. They're in Europe. They are the upper classes. They are the private school boys. They are written about by the whole psychology community. They all know about them. They run the Law Society. They're all gay paedophiles. And here they are again, McDonald's. And now they're sexually abusing child B, right? And they're gagging on his cock. He's 5 years old. And the little boy doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is his sensory organs have been stimulated like you've never seen. And he can't help but get an erection. Even if he was blind, he would get an erection. Right, now, that's not his fault. Now, they're saying it is his fault. And then they're stolen the banks. So you take them and do the same. And if they react in any way, then you take the banks. You take it all back. You own the car companies, you own the schools, you own the hotels, everything. Everything taken of child B. So what child A and their group did is sexually abuse child B from a 5-year-old, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, all right, sexually abusing them, homosexuality, they're disgusting homosexual paedophiles, the Law Society, and then they're making loads of, and then stealing the banks because the boy is responding like a human would. Only a monkey would turn that down, would say no to an erection after it being gagged on when he can't see him, blind. He's blind to gay activity. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know what heterosexual, too young. All right? So only a monkey would say that I've done something wrong. Okay? And the monkey's gone and stolen my banks. And now he's making all the Queen's people homeless because we're human. So now we'll show you how human group A is also as well. And we'll be taking them, taking photographs of them like they did with me, doing what they did to me, to them, and monetising this. It's monetising photos of what we're going to do to child A after what they've done to child B for so many years. For over 40 years we've suffered at the hands of child A. And now we're going to put a stop to that anytime they show a response in a specific situation. And after that, you take pictures and you monetize it and go get your assets back. And if they don't give it back, you take prisoners from those assets, like passengers from cars, customers at ATM machines, customers of all the high street shops. and away you go. This monetising system used against child A to steal the banks of a 5-year-old, of a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, using shame and sex, when sex is very normal and perfectly fine. If somebody gets an erection when they're 5 years, it's not his fault. It's definitely the paedophile's fault, without question, and they can't steal the banks. And if they do, we'll want them right back. Okay, so, but basically, so the German Nazis have brought this fucking system in where we're fucking sexually abusing child B for years. Alright, now, and then stealing everything and then abusing the whole of fucking Europe and America and Britain. So we have to get involved in taking the A group and getting our banks back in a very peculiar and odd and strange way. Yes, I agree, it's very strange, right? But once you've done that, you monetize it, and then you go and get your banks back that are legitimately yours, and that this system is legal. It's because the attack to child B was done by the Law Society in a football game, in a tennis match. Yet we haven't had our strike yet. So the whole thing is in a legal boundary. Okay, so child is sexual abuse, child B has been made legal and they've monetised it. It's going to be the same with child A. It's going to be monetised and it's legal. Anytime they raise a hand, trust me, they'll see death straight away. We know who they are and the ridiculous conditions that they will fail at every single time when somebody takes child A and monetises it every single day. There won't be a day when they won't make money. And that's a fact about sex. And especially the young, they like sex. And when they like it, that means you get your money back. It belongs to you, the human. The, you know, it's not your fault they brought in the system, right? It's a very peculiar system, I agree. It's definitely not British. It's definitely a culture shock. Yeah, this system's a culture shock. But then, if we don't do this, we're already losing by 40 years now. So McDonald's is doing this, the trans schools, the banks are doing this, they're stolen it off child B. And how they've done that. Now you've got to go and get the banks back. You have to do it legitimately, and the whole thing is legal. It's a tennis match. We've had hundreds of kids stolen off us every week by McDonald's that run in the councils and child protection services. They're stealing kids, they're calling us paedophiles because they were sucking a boy's cock, child B, when he was 5 years old. After 2 hours, he responded by an erection. And now all the kids are getting taken after being called paedophiles by McDonald's, calling him a Donald Duck. He was 5 years old. He was being very human. Like I would, in hindsight, prefer 100% that to be a woman doing that. I would want that to be a woman. God, I help us that it needs to be a woman. The German Nazis are taking over the fucking world. So when a woman does that, the world balances itself out. The Nazis go and get binned as they deserve. We need to bin them, and we need to do it 512 different ways. Okay. And Churchill said about the Nazis after the Second World War that the next war will be right here in Britain, is the new frontier of the war. Okay, this is what he said. So what do you reckon?